So new, Bernie Sanders lays down a marker for the progressive position on Social Security. Just keep going, keep going. Boost benefits and close the funding gap entirely through taxes on higher earners. And that shit ain't going nowhere because the because the Republicans run the House. Why wouldn't Bernie introduce this when Pelosi was over the House? When they had power? Why is he introducing this? Why is he being more radical? When they're in a minority, when they know none of this stuff could go through. Now, AOC alluded to this. They like being in the minority. That's when they can bring up their bills. Because they are prevented. It sounds like, and she didn't say this, it sounds like they're prevented from bringing up any of this stuff when they hold all levers of power in government besides the Supreme Court. Here's another one. Salon. Sanders' bill would give teachers $60K minimum wage, fully funded by taxing the rich. Here's another bill that the jackass Bernie is, and I'm calling them that because this is all virtue signaling. This is all virtue signaling. Why are you bringing up bills now? All of these bills, this flurry of bills you're starting to do, Bernie, now that Republicans run the House. Where were these bills when Pelosi had the mallet, had the speaker mallet, or whatever they call it? And he does it so well, people still report it as Bernie just working away, like Salon. Truth out. Senator Bernie Sanders that he will soon introduce legislation to set minimum annual salaries for U.S. public teachers at $60,000. A change the senator said could be fully financed with progressive changes to the estate tax, which is never going to happen with the Republicans in office. So why is Bernie doing it now? This is pretty despicable to me. Oh, this is something else. Now let's listen to that same story. Let's listen to it on. I'm trying to get the news outlet. I can't see. It says ATM. I don't know what news outlet that is, but let's replay it and see what they.
Derek, thank you. Teachers could be getting a pay raise if Senator Bernie Sanders gets his way. He's proposing a bill to use federal funds to require a minimum salary of $60,000 for teachers. The plan is aimed at addressing the nationwide teacher shortage. Derek.
Now, what could be a reason why Bernie would not introduce this bill when they hold all levers of power? Because then people are going to expect it to pass. Because then people are going to say, hey, Joe Biden, what do you think about that bill Bernie put up? You have all levers of power. You're not going to veto it, right? Nancy Pelosi, what's up with the bill that Bernie Sanders wants to introduce? You see how it makes the Democratic leadership have to answer to it? So what is Bernie Sanders and AOC and Pramila Jayapal, all these people who are introducing these bills, Ro Khanna's doing the same thing, introducing all these bills that all they want to do is use it as a campaign tool. Listen, I introduced this bill. I'm very progressive. I introduced this bill, a bill at a time when you knew it wasn't going to get elected, just so you can say you introduced the bill. Stop falling for Bernie Sanders as the agent of that. He is the top person who is doing this. Let's continue, and then we'll get. Oh, am I in the right one? Yeah, I thought. It's not. I thought I was still looking at Burn. Oh, I must have hit the back button. Sorry, everybody. I hit the back button. That's what happened. All right, and you see some of the same news articles just reposted. Now let's see if there's any other videos on this Nonsense, Bernie Sanders. All these bills, everybody want to introduce a bill now. Oh, that Sabby Sab's video came up, but it's not on the topic. Otherwise, I would play it. Here he goes again, saying some stuff that he's not going to fight for. I don't need to play that. Bernie Sanders, man. Bernie Sanders, man, is a fucking joke. Yeah. Is this another? Okay, here. Oh no, this is old. Okay, so I won't bring that up. Let's go to Bernie Sanders page. I wanted to kind of just search it and get because you can get reaction instead of having to click on his thing and then go through it. I guess I'll just do it that way. So Bernie Sanders. Let's go to his. We'll start with his. I think the one with the American flag is his personal. So we'll start here, and then we'll see if anything's here. Doesn't look like. So now let's go to the other one here. People. Where's Senator Bernie Sanders? Right, Senator Sanders, right here. Maybe he put it here. I know I saw the video. No, I didn't see that. I didn't click on it, but I know I saw it posted, and I think it'll be coming up. But let's cover some of the things he wants to do. Oh, here it goes. It jogged my memory when I saw the Starbucks. My bad, everybody. It's in my bookmarks. It's a case study video, case study QB video, and that's this one right here. And this is the next one. My bad, everybody.
CEO Howard Schultz has declined an invitation from 11 senators to testify in March on the coffee company's compliance with federal labor laws. It's according to a letter viewed by Reuters. The invitation came from Senator Bernie Sanders, who chairs the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee and was signed by 10 other members of that committee. Now, last week, Senator Sanders accused Starbucks of, quote, fighting workers every step of the way, including refusing to bargain a first contract in good faith, delay tactics, and a significant escalation in union busting. Starbucks said its chief public affairs officer is available to testify.
And the reason, or not one of the reasons I wanted to do this segment with Bernie is because he is so put up as the person for labor out of everybody. But nobody wants to bring up the fact that he was key in expediting the breaking of the rail strike. Bernie Sanders required unanimous consent for that to be passed as quickly as it was. Required unanimous consent. And that's exactly what he did. And I'll pause here and bring up a headline that you can see about Bernie. Recent article, you can go to the World Socialist website. Bernie Sanders, flanked by union bureaucrats, issue pathetic moral appeal to railroad CEOs in press conference. And then this also makes a reference, and this article basically is talking about how he's virtue signaling. He's out trying to act like he's working. None of this stuff was done when he was in power, when the Democratic Party had power. None of this stuff was done. So this is Bernie Sanders. I want to get to. Okay, so let me just read these 3 paragraphs, and it'll be included in this segment, because this is Bernie Sanders. On February 9th, Vermont Independent Senator Bernie Sanders held a live press conference on Twitter calling for paid sick days for American rail workers. The event was co-chaired by Indiana Republican Senator Mike Braun on behalf of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Senate Committee and was flanked with representatives of the major railroad unions. The press conference was an attempt at damage control for the Democratic Party and the trade union apparatus. Damage control. And that's a lot of what Bernie Sanders is doing with these introduction of bills. This is just damage control. None of this stuff will ever happen. And he's not putting up his best fight to make it happen by only introducing these bills when his party, or the party he sheepherds for, is not in power. Let's continue. The press conference was an attempt at damage control for the Democratic Party and the trade union apparatus 2 months after a bipartisan vote in Congress to impose a contract with the railroaders had rejected. The very individual grandstanding in the press conference, Bernie Sanders, as advocates for railroaders, played central roles in the attack on workers' basic democratic rights. Sanders orchestrated a maneuver to add 7 paid sick days, which never had any chance of passing in the Senate over the opposition of Republicans and right-wing Democrats, in order to give Democratic politicians cover as they voted nearly unanimously to impose the deal. Now, this last paragraph. While Sanders did not vote to impose the contract, his support for the vote ensured its rapid passage, as opposition from even one senator, would have been enough to delay a vote under the expedited procedures being used by the Senate. However, 3 House members, and they talk about who voted for it. So Bernie Sanders was key in this breaking a strike. Bernie Sanders was key. But now he's over here virtue signaling like he's here as the best advocate for workers, and he's not. He simply is not. I know that the professional managerial class thinks he is, but he simply is not. And let's finish out the video about the Starbucks and Bernie Sanders. Fast forward does that all the time, just restarts. So let's click on it this time so they can't do that. And play it, and let it play all the way through. It's only a minute.
Declined an invitation from 11 senators to testify in March on the coffee company's compliance with federal labor laws. It's according to a letter viewed by Reuters. The invitation came from Senator Bernie Sanders, who chairs the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, and was signed by 10 other members of that committee. Now, last week, Senator Sanders accused Starbucks of, quote, fighting workers every step of the way, including refusing to bargain a first contract in good faith, delay tactics, and a significant escalation in union busting. Starbucks said its chief public affairs officer is available to testify and is the best person to address workforce policy matters. Of course, the real question is, I believe, given the makeup of that committee, you can subpoena people.
Yeah, why would you turn down an invitation like that? It sounds like a fun party.
Yeah, that was awesome. I love Bernie. Bernie helping the private sector. That's such vast experience with what works.
And they help, conservatives help to make the fantasy of Bernie real. The fantasy that he's really helping real. They make that to be real in the way they describe what he's doing, when they know that he's doing it when he doesn't have the power to get this legislation through. I'm going to play that one more time, sheer off the fun factor, because I thought it was hilarious, but at the end there. Let's play it again.
Meantime, Starbucks' CEO Howard Schultz has declined an invitation from an 11.
Now, this might be part of the process. Maybe he's declining an invitation. I want to see when Bernie subpoenas him. I want to see if Bernie will subpoena him. Just subpoena him. Fuck all of this shit. Now, he might be doing this as a step. He has to have him say, no, I don't want to come voluntarily before he subpoenas him. So let's see if Bernie Sanders does that. But I do want to play this one more time as we close.
From 11 senators to testify in March on the coffee company's compliance with federal labor laws. It's according to a letter viewed by Reuters. The invitation came from Senator Bernie Sanders, who chairs the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, and was signed by 10 other members of that committee. Now, last week, Senator Sanders accused Starbucks of, quote, fighting workers every step of the way, including refusing to bargain a first contract in good faith, delay tactics, and a significant escalation in union busting. Starbucks said its chief public affairs officer is available to testify and is the best person to address workforce policy matters. Of course, the real question is, I believe, given the makeup of that committee, you can subpoena people.
Right. So we will be covering, I know I'm going to double back and cover this again. If Bernie Sanders subpoenas him and they have this trial and we see the questions, I'm gonna do a stream and say Bernie Sanders deserves credit for subpoenaing, and maybe I'm saying that wrong, subpoenaing Schultz about this Amazon shit, about the first contract, and brings in Chris Smalls. If he does all of that, if he goes ham, I'll give him credit for that. I'll absolutely give Bernie Sanders credit for that. All of this bill writing is virtue signaling. Now, him bringing subpoena somebody committee, that's something he can really do. All these bills that he's doing is simply virtue signaling, is simply giving cover. Like, no, I am progressive. Now, I didn't do anything during the 2 years that we had the power, but now I need to do the next 2 years and show you that I am progressive by introducing a bunch of bills that I know will never even see the light of day whatsoever.